I hope you are ready for a bundle of energy and high vibes on this episode because I
Yes.
got my man. I got the one and only, the best-selling author of Shaped to Lead, Ralph Bessard in the house. Ralph, welcome to the show.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Jake. It's such an honor and privilege to be here with you, man. This is really, really awesome. I'm excited about today.
Dude, I am hyped to talk to you today because every time we've talked throughout your process, even when we had you at the live event second recently, you were just on fire, man. So let's get into it real quick here. Talk to me about Shape to Lead. What is the book? What is it about? And let's start there.
Well, Shape to Lead, discover your unique leadership style, empower your team, and create massive impact. It is a book. I have to say it's kind of near and dear to my heart. But what is so awesome about what occurred in that first meeting when I came to you is that I didn't even realize that it was with me in that way. Obviously, I think I told you when we first met, I had been wanting to write a book for the better part of about 10 to 15 years, had started and stopped, actually have one brewing and it's been like my baby. But in the process of realizing that I was on this new trajectory of really getting into a place where I wanted to widen my footprint, help other people, and influence. I realized that I had something in me that I wanted to help to deliver to people in this book. And so Shape to Lead is just that. Shape to Lead is about finding your unique voice, finding your genuine, authentic self, understanding that you have this shape and this style that can put you in places to share your voice, to empower others, encourage others, and get them to get beyond their limiting beliefs and debilitating thoughts. And so that's what Shape to Lead is all about, finding that unique voice, understanding that you have a unique leadership style that the world is waiting for. And so I'm just really excited that I was able to kind of put it together and birth this out into the world.
For sure. And there's a lot we can go a bunch of different directions. I want to kind of go down this direction. I want to get really deep into the book real quick.
Yes.
When somebody's thinking about, they're listening to you talking about that, we have a unique leadership style. We're all shaped in our own way, right? And we can curate that. What are some of the questions or what are some of the things that you would encourage someone who's listening right now to think about if they're looking to expand their leadership or to develop their own leadership style?
Well, the first place I would have everyone start is to kind of look back at their overall story, right? And that's what that first letter for in Shaped is all about, is understanding that you have a unique set of experiences that you've gone through. There has been a story that has probably been narrated through most of our life that we don't give full weight to or don't give a full vent to. We mute that story. We kind of hustle it down and we begin to try to find different ways to express ourselves, right? And so what ends up happening a lot of times is that we're operating in our business, we're operating in a position where we're trying to look like someone else. When in reality, for the whole of our life, we've had this story or this narrative that has been working its way through us, trying to give us some clues or a deeper understanding of how we can show up in the world. And so the first thing that I ask people to do when looking at where they are and where they want to be is, hey, let's look at your story. Let's look at that narrative that you continuously are practicing or telling yourself and make sure that you are interpreting that story the correct way, right? Your story is significant. It's a big deal, but how you interpret it is going to be even bigger because that's where you're then going to begin to walk out the perception of who you think you may be. And so that's the first place that I would have a person go is like, let's go back and kind of look at where you are with that story. And then from there, we're going to start talking about the things that are in your heart. What are you passionate about? How do you line up? How do you make yourself available to the opportunities that come your way? Again, if you're telling the wrong story, you probably are not stepping into the arena when called, right? And so then we want to make sure that this person has the proper perspective, understanding that it's in these diverse perspectives, how we view ourselves in the world, that is going to allow us to say, hey, I can do this, or getting to a place where we're saying, I don't know if this is something I can do. And so again, I leave a person in a place of letting them know that you're not here by chance. You're not here by happenstance. You are significant and you are here for purpose. And so when you begin to do that, you can encourage someone to then now tap into that place where they become determined to live the life that they were created to live the leadership style that they were meant to live and walk in. Because it doesn't matter. You don't always have to be in the front to lead. You can lead exactly where you are. But the only way that can occur is when you have a big understanding of who you are and how your life is kind of played out in the story you tell yourself.
Dude, I love that. And something that's always been interesting to me, and as somebody who specializes in leadership, and you wrote a book on leadership, I'm curious about this because I always find it very interesting when people define leadership, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people often think that leadership is based on the title that you have. I tend to believe that anybody can be a leader in their own role because it's not always just about what title you have. The title, sure, it gives you a level of authority, but it does not make you a great leader,
Absolutely.
right? Status and title does not equate to great leadership. So I'm curious, you've built out this framework, you've done a lot of consulting around this, you've done a lot of speaking around this. What would you say are definitive qualities of great leaders?
So the first, I'm going to say this, the first quality of a leader, and again, it may seem a little mundane and it seems like kind of like, in one sense, not something that's top of mind, but a great leader is available. I say this is the truth of your best ability is availability, right? You have to be available when it looks like it's tough, when the situation seems to be kind of going to the left or the right, and everybody is kind of shaking in their boots. A leader, whether they have the answer in that moment, the reality is that they'll make themselves available because they find the confidence to believe that we'll find the answer. And so sometimes just being available to step out first from wherever you may be, right? Understanding that, you know what? I have the eyes to see this situation. I've had the ears to hear and understand the situation I'm finding myself in. And so now it's just about putting myself out there to believe that we can get through this. And when you do that, you have the ability to galvanize others. And believe it or not, even in those areas that you may not have all the answers, when you step out first and you're willing to put yourself out there, more times than not, somebody's going to follow. And you guess what? Here's the cool thing about it. That person might have a set of gifts that line up right with you, okay, that allow you to get beyond the part or the place that you couldn't see because that's a part of their gifting. And
Right.
so that the first ability that we have to have is to make sure that we're available, that we're accessible to the situation and to those around us. And then from that point, I think the next piece that's really, really profound and helped me throughout the years is making sure that I embrace different perspectives, right? Diversity is huge. Like if you come in thinking that you know everything, right? If you come to think like you have to have, again, as I said, all the answers, you're going to struggle in so many areas because more times than not, you are going to be perpetrating a fraud against your team. And so what ends up happening is that now I kind of mentioned this in the book where in one of my first leadership assignments, I was so concerned about how I was perceived. I found a way to make it look like I had all the answers. And so I became territorial. I didn't let my teammates shine. I didn't allow people to step into their unique place or style that could have really propelled our team forward. And so in doing so, we missed so many opportunities of growth. But when I realized the importance of embracing different perspectives and allowing other people to come into a place to shine, and here I was now facilitating those opportunities, it allowed for my team to grow. It allowed for us to do great things and to have some great and massive impact. So I think that those are the two things that initially are really important: availability, proper perspective. And then I would conclude with making sure that, again, I'm not against giving people constructive criticism, but I think there's a way to do it And I think the way that when we at times have to be critical, we always want to make sure that we stay in that place of encouragement. Encouragement is always going to be the catalyst to empowerment. And so when you can be an encourager and you are inspiring other people to step out and realize that, understand there's no problem with a mistake or falling down. The problem becomes when you're afraid to make mistakes or you fall down and you don't get back up. So if you can have the right understanding to be available and you're putting yourself out there with that proper perspective and you stay in a place to encourage those around you, you are going to inspire people to do great things. And I think those are the traits that leaders need to have and allow them to operate in their authentic, genuine shape.
It's great to hear you talk about this because it's so clear that you know what your process is, right? It's not just, oh, I'm going to make up some answers here. It's you have a process, you've learned it, you've lived it, and you've created it. And now you've put this all into your book, Shape to Lead. So I'm curious, can you talk about your process of creating your book and maybe talk a little bit about like how it differed from what you initially thought the process would be?
Yeah, I think that initially, I've been doing this now for the better part of about 25 years. And again, on so many levels, it was kind of just instinctively, realizing that I didn't know how to help people to get to the destination of where they wanted to be until I knew a little bit about themselves. And so I always kind of started from that place like, hey, okay, um, tell me where you come from, kind of like, what do you think? Like, who are you? Who are you really? Right. Getting to that place where like, hey, what's your voice sound like? And again, when you deal with so many different people, whether, some people would say I'm probably a little more extroverted, but I kind of find myself an in-between guy where I'm the in-between extrovert or introvert. But dealing with those different personalities and seeing an extrovert or introvert, when you ask somebody that question, sometimes you find out that they struggle with confessing freely who they are, especially initially when you kind of put it out there in that way. And that gave me the understanding of, wow, how do I help someone confidently express this story, right? And that's when you now then tap into the very heart of the matter. You asked me a question, or you asked all of us a question in that live event, how do we see ourselves, or what is it that we wanted to bring forth out in the world? And I don't know if you remember the answer, but it brought me to tears as I sat that day because I realized I was supposed to be in that meeting with you that weekend. And I remember I said, I wanted to change the world. And I told you in that day, I said, I don't know that I've ever really spoken that out loud. And so when you help unlock someone to begin to talk about the desires of their heart, well, now I can give them a framework, be like, okay, you told me who you are. You told me what you have in your heart. You've even told me that some of these things in your heart have frightened you a little bit. But now let's face this, right? Because this is why you waffle and why you struggle sometimes in this area. And so now let's be available to the opportunities that are being presented to you. Let's make sure we are shaping and keeping the proper perspective. And then I go into encouragement mode. And then I realize that in encouraging someone, you constantly remind them of their significance so that they are determined to walk out their purpose. And so what happened for me, again, being 25 years in ministry, 25, 30 years running a business and running a team, I didn't know that this was a process that I was doing until you helped me to organize my thoughts. And I began to go through the Big Idea To Bestseller type of process. Again, one of the things was my favorite, the Avenger process there, right? Coming together to put these thoughts down and to create my outline. I realized, oh my goodness, I have something here. And again, it's not necessarily just how do you say it, a formula or methodology. Again, I have nothing against formulas or methodologies. I think they work and I think they have their place. But I think that when we speak to the person and begin to tap into that genuine voice that's within them, we can create paths to unlock that authenticity and that quirkiness and all of it that they are, all of that they're not, and begin to shape and give them their voice. And that is what the process, it helped me to find my voice in a way that I could put it in a concise manner. And so it was very therapeutic in writing this book
Sure.
for me, because it really helped me to see that there's something of value here. And it's been a great ride, because the feedback so far that's come from so many people unprompted, being like, Ralph, wow, I really like this book. Again, I've read leadership books and I thought you were going to go somewhere, but you were kind of talking to my person. And I was like, hey, man, you got it. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, so let's dig into that a little bit. How has your book, since it's come out, impacted your personal brand and your business reputation?
Well, the first thing I can say, and hey, you taught it to us all that weekend, I am a best-selling published author. And that was first and foremost one of the most amazing accomplishments I can just say that I have in life. I didn't realize how surreal it would feel and how awesome it would feel in writing the book, and then seeing that happen. And for that to have gone down was just simply amazing. But what continued to occur after that was the phone calls, the impromptu meetings, or the meetings that people would come and say, hey, Ralph, I read this. And I remember at my book launch, there was a gentleman who I thought he just bought the book that night, had no idea that he had already purchased the book and read it on his flight. He had come from the Bay Area, and he bought more books. But he asked the question, he was actually the last question of the night, and he really got it. He said that, I understand that you are talking about unlocking my unique brilliance, helping me, in a nutshell, find confidence in my own skin. And that's what stopped me dead in my tracks, because I was like, oh my goodness, how did you possibly get that in 15 minutes or in the last 30? He says, no, I read the book before I came here. And I just wanted to let you know that I've been leading people for the better part of 30 years, but I realized I've left a lot off the table because I have failed to let people see or have access to who I really am. And you've encouraged me to look at this from a different place. And hearing someone who's been in a position of leadership over a period of time, him saying that he understood that he left something off the table, wow, I was like, I don't know that it gets much better. I almost said, hey, can I have you record that so I can listen to that when I go to bed?
Yeah, I love that. It really is a great feeling. You know, it's hard to describe the feeling to people beforehand, right? Before
Yes.
they do the book. And I could say all day long, you know, there's a feeling that happens when you release your book that is unparalleled to anything, but it's really hard to put yourself in that feeling until you experience it. And as you were just saying, right, you released the book and who you became in that process, and what it meant that first time you heard someone say, I read the book and it changed the way that I view myself and my leadership style. Like those are moments that you're never going to forget for the rest of your life. Right.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and so since that, you had a killer launch party, right? You filled up an entire location that just had people asking questions. I mean, talk to me about some of the other tangible things that have happened since your book release. I know you've done some bulk deals, speaking gigs. Like, walk me through just some of the things that have happened in the first couple of months.
So first couple months, what's been amazing, obviously, following the book launch, I was able to do a book signing at the church here in Westlake, California, Calvary Community. Amazing turnout, tons of questions, pictures. And I think the part that was most exciting, I met a lot of young people. Parents initially brought them over, but they read the back of the book, started looking at certain things, and they were immediately on board about saying, hey, we'd like to have our friends be a part of this. Maybe you could even come over and talk to our football team or to our school and things of that nature. And what's been happening, it's just been a consistent momentum of being introduced to some opportunities where I have a speaking engagement in Detroit. I'm going back up to my hometown in Oakland in March, speaking with two organizations, two churches, doing another podcast. And so what's happened since this book, and again, I launched my coaching business probably just a month before I came to you in March. So it was back in February when I started all of this. And again, as I said, being in business, running my own business, Conquer Credit Management for the better part of 30 years, being in ministry for 25, this was just a new endeavor all the way for me. And so in writing this book, it has provided the calling card or the ability to open doors that I don't know that I necessarily would have been able to get into just by telling them, hey, this is my experience and this is what I've done. But being able to let them know that, hey, there's a methodology and an understanding to this. Here's the expertise in which I walk in. It has been nothing short of than phenomenal. And so it's been awesome. And I'm currently right now just reaching out, getting out of my comfort zone and really trying to just put myself in a position where I'm extending this, what I believe to be a value of helping people unlock their leadership style.
Man, and you're just getting started.
Yeah, just
That's the
get
coolest
started.
part is you have the experience, right? You have, as you mentioned, the 30 years of running your business, the 25 years of ministry. Like you have the experience of leadership. And now this book has just transcended time for you. It's literally been a collection of your past, now creating your future. And
Absolutely.
that is special, man. That is special. And there was something that I got to bring it up before we wrap up here. So one of the things that was really cool, Ralph, throughout your process is we had met in March of 2023. That was the event that you're talking about. And I want to fill everyone in on this timeline to show what's really possible. March of 2023, you come into this live event, you meet me for the first time, we walk through this process, you have this holy shit moment, right? I'm going to
Yes.
change the world. You speak it out for the first time. Then you're like, I'm doing this book. Now we start working on the book, you make a ton of progress and you go, okay, I'm going to wait till the top of the new year, top of 2024 to actually launch it. But the book's pretty much done by September, right?
Yes.
So 6 months in, I am running my next live event and I say, Ralph, hey, let's talk about the process. We'd love you to be a guest speaker. So you got a speaking engagement through us before you even launch the book. Okay. Now you
Yes.
come to that event and we're talking about the shape to lead principles. We're talking about the process that you're going through. And there was something that you said. Okay. Now, I don't know if you remember the exact line, but there was something that everyone who's listening, it's like when Ralph said this line, you heard the pencils just drop. Like it was a drop the mic moment in real time. And we were like, let's go, Ralph. So real quick for the listeners. Okay. And I know I set the stage and the expectation, so it's not going to have the same effect because obviously it's not live, but I want, if you can, to remember to share a version of what you shared with us related to the quote that you shared because it was really, really powerful for everyone in attendance. And I think this is a great way for us to kind of wrap up the interview here to leave people with some inspiration.
On that day, again, I did not know that it would have the profound effect that it did. And it's something that, again, I've said probably numerous times before, but the reality of it is that in that moment, on that day, we were talking about really helping people to stay in that place, to be motivated, to stay encouraged, to make sure that they understood that they were there for a time and a season such as this, that they had a significant opportunity to let their voice be heard. And only they can do it, in their own unique way. And what I said to them is that I didn't want it to be morbid, but I needed it to be for effect. And I said, hey, you are born on this date, on this such and such date. And the truth is, none of us get away from the expiration. We're going to go out on a certain day. But those 2 days don't matter. The only thing that does matter is the dash. What will you do with the dash?
Mm.
And I live by that because you helped to remind me the first meeting back in March of 2023. You were like, Ralph, it doesn't matter if anyone else has said it. It matters if you say it, the way that you say it. And I just want to leave that with your listeners that if you're thinking about this, if it's been on your heart, something you can't get away from, do something with the dash because you are here. Not by chance, not by happenstance. You are here to be significant. and to walk with purpose, mission, and assignment. Do something with that dash.
I love it, baby. I love it. Ralph, talk to me about this. This has been great, man. I could go on and on. Talk to me about the book. Where can we get the book? Where can we work with you? Where can we learn more about you? Give us the goods.
All right. So first and foremost, the best way to get in touch with me is to go to ralphbessard.com/free gift. I want to give a free gift away to all your listeners. So just go straight there. And that is the best way to connect with me and to find a way to work with me. And again, I just want to give something away to your listeners. For those of you who are interested in the book, it is on the Amazon platform. You can buy the ebook for 99 cents. We're just trying to make sure that we get this information out there, and you can pick up the paperback at the same place. Very, very accessible. But again, my hope is that something can be said or read that stirs your ambition and be inspired to go out and do great and mighty things.
Man, I love it. We'll get that all linked up here for you. But Ralph, this has been a pleasure, man. I always love chatting with you. There's always something new I learn, and the energy is always just so fun and great. And I think to your whole process, right? And I think about that March when you vocalized to change the world, and now you are changing the world, and you're doing that with your dash, right? You're doing that with your dash.
Amen.
And that's part of your adventure. That's part of what you're doing. And I'm proud of you, man. And I'm excited for you. So, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jake. And again, I cannot express how blessed I am to have met you. It was just an amazing ride. I spent so much time teaching people over and over again, but to spend that time with you and the community, just overall, that's another thing that you guys get. Not only do you get an amazing, great teacher in Big Idea to Bestseller, but you get to be a part of a family and a community to be inspired to go out and to live this dream. And so again, thank you for allowing me to be here with you today. It's truly a blessing. And again, thank you.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. And for everyone that's listening right now, here is my challenge to you. Number one is, if you want to be a better leader, get the book Shaped to Lead and reach out to Ralph. But here is my challenge to you. I want you to ask yourself, what are you doing with your dash? All right. Your time here has an expiration date. What are you doing with the dash? Spend 5 minutes journaling about it. Spend 5 minutes meditating on it. Spend 5 minutes in the sauna, in the jacuzzi, sitting on your bed, whatever. But ask yourself, what are you doing with the dash? And is that what you're meant to be doing? And if it's not, then I challenge you one step further to figure out what that is and listen to this interview, because it'll help you do so. All right. That's what I got for you today. Let's go.
Let's go.